Throughout the history of competitive Fortnite, we have had dominant players like Bugha.
It's yours. One more time. Your world champion, Bugha!
Peterbot.
Oh my god!
But we're gonna focus on Mero.
I got not one, but two, but three, but four, but five FNCS wins. Make it 6 now.
This is the entire story of Fortnite's best controller player, Mero. Matthew Fatal, more known as Mero, was born on September 18th, 2004 in Canada. His brother would introduce Mero to video games when he was just 5 years old. He mainly played Call of Duty and he would eventually find Fortnite. Mero would compete in his first ever tournament in the World Cup qualifiers. He placed 9,000th in the only qualifier he played and wasn't taking the game too seriously. He wasn't finding any success, but this would change on November 13th of 2019 when Mero would make his first earnings, placing 30th in a solo cash cup, earning $350. Which was quite motivating and gave him a reason to take the game more seriously. And because of this achievement, Mero decided to switch from console over to PC. Without knowing it at the time, this would change Mero's life forever. Even though Mero switched to PC, he decided to stick with controller instead of mouse and keyboard. He would improve every day, and this would show on April 5th of 2020 because Mero would place for the first time on PC, winning a daily duel cup, earning $375. But this was just a daily duels cup, so it wasn't a super competitive tournament, but just wait until you see what Mero accomplishes in the future. And just 4 days later, Mero would win a solo cash cup, his best placement by far at the time, earning a whopping $2,600. But even though this was impressive, Mero was still behind. You see, most big names like Bugha or Click started off in the World Cup. This wasn't the case for Mero, so he knew he would have to keep his head down and continue to grind if he wanted to catch up. Luckily for Mero, a massive opportunity was right around the corner. Fortnite announced the solo FNCS Invitational, but it worked a little bit different than the previous tournaments. High-performing players from the previous seasons were handpicked into the finals, but there was still an open qualifier round where people who weren't the most known players like Mero, for example, were given a chance to qualify for the finals. With this in mind, Mero would give it his all in the qualifiers, placing 37th, which qualified him into the week 1 of the FNCS Invitational. And against all odds, Mero would place 11th in week 1 and 6th in week 2, earning a grand total of $4,350, earning his spot into his first ever grand finals. But during this time, it was almost unheard of for a player to just come out of nowhere. Nowadays, we have players like Peterbot or Cold who became one of the best players in such a short time, but during this time, pro players were at the top of competitive Fortnite from the very beginning. So Mero knew if he wanted to do well, he would have to put the time in. But this wasn't exactly what happened. Despite Mero grinding and doing well in the qualifiers, he would finish in a disappointing 49th place, earning $500. Even though this wasn't his best placement, it had shown that Mero had a ton of potential. So an organization called Outcast Region decided to sign Mero, which was the first gaming org Mero joined. With this newfound success, Mero decided to show off his gameplay on YouTube, where he would begin to post highlight videos. Throughout these videos, you could see one main trait that had formed in Mero, and that was the driving reason for Mero's success in the future. And this trait would be a strong perseverance, because no matter what, Mero would continue to focus on improving every day. And heading into Chapter 2 Season 3, Fortnite announced the solo FNCS. Mero had been thriving in solos, so this was quite motivating. In the qualifiers, he placed 25th, 90th, 21st, and 2nd, which qualified Mero into the heats. But right before this, there was a trio cash cup where Mero placed 2nd with this new trio, and just a day later they placed 3rd in the ninjas battle, but we're gonna talk about that in just a second. Let's get back to the main stage. Unfortunately, Mero would fail to qualify for the grand finals, but let's get back to his trio, where Mero would find Day and Reverse 2K, and without knowing it at the time, they would become the best trio in Fortnite history. But at the time, there wasn't much certainty that Mero, Day, and Reverse would do well in FNCS. Reverse was very well known back then, but Mero and Day were unknown. Reverse saw a ton of potential in Mero and Day, and it turns out Reverse was right, because in the FNCS qualifiers, the underdog team would go on to place 5th, 6th, and 2nd, which qualified the trio into the FNCS heats, where they would easily qualify for the grand finals. They were by no means favorites to win the FNCS. Everyone thought Bugha's trio or Zayd's trio would win, and it didn't help that they were landing at one of the worst split drop spots. But let's just say they proved everyone wrong.
You're good. Play there.
Here's your FNCS NA's winners. It's TNA's Day, it's TNA's Mero, and of course TNA Reverse 2K.
Mero, Day, and Reverse won the grand finals, earning $22,000. After this win, no one would doubt Mero ever again. However, Mero thought to himself that one FNCS win wasn't enough, so following their win, they knew they had to keep playing together going into Chapter 2 Season 5, where they would place in a respectable 4th, earning $20,000. For a team to be this consistent was very difficult, but it was bigger for the trio. They wanted to cement their legacy as the best, so heading into Chapter 2 Season 6, they wanted to dominate the region. They would win the second open qualifier, which sent the trio straight into the grand finals once again. Against all odds, the dominant trio Mero, Day, and Reverse won their second FNCS together, earning a whopping $50,000.
Did we win?
I don't know.
We're in first. We won. We won. Let's go, baby.
But unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, because following their FNCS win, Reverse 2K was thinking about quitting Fortnite forever.
I ask if I care if I lose any of this. I don't care if I lose my career. I'm already depressed. This game sucks. My career sucks. I get dropped every other single freaking day by my teammates.
And on August 11, 2021, Reverse tweeted, "I am definitely quitting after this season." However, Reverse decided to not quit after that season, considering how much the trio had accomplished together. I'm sure there are some other reasons why Reverse didn't enjoy the game, but that being said, he decided to play one more FNCS with Mero and Day, and they would not do well at all. They placed 15th in grand finals, marking the end of a dynasty. This was the last time they played together. Going into Chapter 2 Season 8, Mero took no time finding a new trio. Mero would team up with Bugha, the World Cup winner, and Muzz, a 2-time FNCS winner from OCE who had just moved to NA. Muzz showed promising potential, so Mero and Bugha decided to give him a chance. In the first qualifier, they placed 5th, securing their spot into the grand finals. The trio had barely played together, so people weren't expecting what was about to happen.
Oh my god, we won! Let's go! I swear to God, hold on. I swear to God, we won.
You heard that right. Mero, Bugha, and Muzz were able to win the grand finals, earning $45,000 each. This was Mero's third FNCS win, which was a massive achievement, but Epic Games would announce the FNCS Grand Royale with an even larger prize pool than the previous FNCS. This led to the trio dropping Muzz to pick up Dukes. This led to a ton of controversy, but regardless, the team was looking very strong going into the tournament. They were able to prove everyone wrong because they would win the FNCS Grand Finals, earning $95,000 each. But following this win, Fortnite would make a massive announcement going into Chapter 3, and that was that the game mode would change to duos, which led to Mero sticking with Bugha. In the cash clips leading into the FNCS, they would place 1st and 6th, showing that their trio chemistry would transfer into duos. Mero and Bugha were able to qualify for the grand finals in just the first open qualifier, but most people believed that it wasn't possible that they could win 3 FNCSs in a row, but they did just that. They won the grand finals yet again, earning $65,000 each, which was the first time ever a team won 3 FNCSs in a row on NA East. Going into Chapter 3 Season 2, Mero and Bugha would place 3rd, breaking their winning streak, but was still very impressive. Following this in Chapter 3 Season 3, they would place 2nd, earning $50,000 each. But it was now time for the FNCS Invitational in Raleigh, North Carolina. This was Mero's first ever LAN tournament, and with a lot on the line, Mero and Bugha would finish in a disappointing 36th place, marking the end of this dynasty. These past few seasons weren't good enough for Mero or Bugha, so they split up. This is where Mero would decide to play with another popular Fortnite player, which was Edgy, and they would go on to place 22nd in the grand finals. And while for most people this would be okay, for Mero's standards this was horrible, so the duo split up. And while most players would just look for a new duo, this wasn't the case for Mero, because on March 29th of 2023, Mero announced that he was completely leaving competitive Fortnite. Most people thought that Mero was just joking, because how can someone with so much talent and a promising career just decide to leave out of nowhere? But Mero even left his long-term org at the time, which was Team Dignitas. Even though he quit, Mero played some of the cash clips with Crisp and Rise, but no one really knew if he would actually come back. But on the day of the Chapter 4 Season 2 FNCS Open Qualifier, Mero decided to make his comeback, and there is a very interesting story behind this. Mero had 2 underrated players in mind who he wanted to play with, which was Cooper and Crisp. In order to decide, he sent Cooper this DM asking him to choose heads or tails. Cooper chose tails, and like we all know, he guessed correctly. At this time, Cooper only had $7,000 in earnings, so when I mean underrated, I mean it. No one expected what Mero and Cooper would go on to accomplish in the near future. From here, Mero and Cooper would dominate. In the first FNCS they played together, they wouldn't just qualify for the grand finals, they would finish in 2nd place, earning $47,500. And in the following season, they would place in a respectable 9th place finish. No one expected this duo to do so well together, but Mero started off as an underdog, so this wasn't really a surprise. So in October of 2023, Mero and Cooper packed their bags to compete in the FNCS Global Championship in Copenhagen, and little did they know how good they would perform. They would step on the stage to compete on the first day, but things wouldn't identical as planned. Only the top 25 would move on to the grand finals, and unfortunately they placed just short of qualifying, finishing in 28th place. This meant that they were bumped down to the lower bracket on day 2, but this didn't mean that they couldn't qualify. It was another chance for the duo to qualify, and luckily they finished in 17th, which earned their spot into the grand finals. They didn't just do well in the grand finals, they dominated, winning the entire tournament, earning a whopping $500,000 each, and this is what Mero had to say about it.
I say just being confident, honestly. Like, I know I'm the best in this lobby, 100%.
But following this dominant performance, Mero and Cooper would have to head back home to America, and they would place 9th in the FNCS Grand Finals. And even though Mero and Cooper had a very good run, they would split up going into Chapter 5 Season 1. This meant that Mero needed to find a new duo, and he would go back to his former trio teammate Dukes. They would qualify for the FNCS Grand Finals easily, but they would finish in a disappointing 19th place. Going into Chapter 5 Season 2, Mero knew he needed to find a new duo yet again, but the problem was that most duos were already established, and he knew something had to change. With only one more FNCS to qualify for this year's Global Championship in Fort Worth, Texas, Mero decided to team up with Pink, a popular EU Pro player, but they wouldn't do well. They earned their spot into the Grand Finals, but unfortunately they struggled with Storm Surge and finished in 31st. Even though Mero hasn't had the best chapter, I'm sure that Mero will be back at the top of competitive Fortnite with the announcement the game would switching back to trios in 2025. But if you want to watch a video similar to this one, feel free to click on this video.